The weather. As she said, my name is Todd. Just to tell you a little bit about myself, I grew up in the middle of Missouri in a small town called Boonville, about the size of Atlanta, a little bit bigger than Atlanta. I went to the University of Missouri, right in the middle of Missouri. I graduated way back in 1987. I've been doing TV weather for this summer will be 40 years. I started off at KOMU in Columbia, worked there for a couple of years, graduated, then came down here to KTAL in 1987, worked there for 8 years. In 1995, moved the wife and 4 kids to Cincinnati, worked there for 6 years, doing weekends and eventually mornings. And then back in 2001, a guy I worked with at KTAL became the news director at KTAL, and he asked me, Todd, you want to come back? I said, sure. And so it all worked out, and I've been the chief meteorologist at Channel 6 for, this will be 24 years in September, late August, so to speak. As far as, again, as I mentioned, I have 4 kids, also have 4 grandkids now. The oldest is 5, and just have one that was born last week. So the family's getting bigger. But just to talk about, that's a little bit about me. As far as weather, people, when I go talk to kids about weather and what they think it takes to be a meteorologist, I ask them, what do you think is the most important subject that you have to be really good at in school now to get you ready for the college that you're going to have to take to become a meteorologist? Well, they always say science. I say, no, that's not correct. The correct answer is all numbers. When I get to the station, I'm going to pull out a blank piece of paper and I'm going to start writing numbers. And basically what happens is we take observations of what's happening on the ground continuously. Okay? Those are expressed with numbers. Twice a day, the Weather Service here and all around the world at the same time, in our time zone right now at 6 a.m. and 6 p.m., they release weather balloons that take observations on what's happening above us. Those numbers are transmitted from the balloon back to the station, which sends them to Washington, and all those numbers are sent worldwide to various computer models, which do all the math that I studied in college for us, thankfully. Okay? And those models basically take the numbers of what's happening now, put them into huge math, because more than a week out, chances are it's going to change. Where we're going to improve the most, I think, is in terms of weather forecasting, is in the longer range. In your week 1 to week 2, that 7 to 14 day outlook, we'll get better at that. And then eventually, down the road, we may give you, at the first of the month, a detailed 1-month forecast. That's something that is going to be possible as computers get faster. You've probably heard of AI. So far, that really hasn't been developed for us yet. Hopefully not too much before I decide to hang it up. But nonetheless, that's what we're going to improve in the future. Another thing where we've improved that greatly is our ability to warn you about severe weather. Back in the 90s, the weather really hasn't been developed for us yet. Hopefully not too much before I decide to hang it up. But nonetheless, that's what we're going to improve in the future. Another thing where we've improved that greatly is our ability to warn you about severe weather. Back in the 90s, the Weather Service developed you probably heard of Doppler radar. Okay, so what Doppler radar does, in addition to seeing rain, radar sends out a beam, hits the raindrop, part of that beam comes back, the receiver on the antenna on the radar sees it, calculates how far it was away, and it tells us where it's raining. Caused by the motion of that train away from you. So basically the pitch of that sound lowers because the wavelength increases due to the motion of the train now moving away from it. So we apply that to raindrops.